All right, ready?
I notice you've been coming in past your curfew lately. What's up?
I want to stay out until 1 a.m. like my friends.
You are not going to stay out. I don't care what the others say. I want you home by midnight.
No way. Why do I have to come home earlier than everyone else? Why don't you trust me?
Okay. You want to be out till 1 a.m. and I want you home by midnight. Do you think there's any way we can work this out? You have any ideas?
This is going nowhere fast. What's the only idea that anybody might come up with? 12:30, right? Who's happy with 12:30? Likely neither of them. Why is this getting stuck in the mud like that? And leading actually to a form of problem solving that people have a misconception of what this approach is all about, think it's all about. Compromise. Notice this is not called collaborative compromising, it's collaborative problem solving. Occasionally, compromise is the best way to solve a problem. Not most of the time, because what happens when you compromise, both people get a little and both people give a little and don't feel so great about what they've given. Most problems can be solved actually without people having to give something. But here, the only thing they can do is meet in the middle. And why is that? What's wrong here?
They didn't really talk about the problem to begin with. He just said, no, you're not coming home.
And he went to A, first of all.
Yeah.
But then when he tried to tee this up for B, he what?
Jumped to the solution without putting both of them.
He had two solutions on the table, in fact. Right? You want 1, and I want 12. What are those? Solutions. To make this B, what are you going to need to do? Unpack for both of them. Why 1 o'clock? You said you want to stay out late like your friends. Can you fill me in? But similarly, you're going to have to drill down with Dad. Why midnight? I've had this conversation with parents before, and it's a funny conversation, right? Because you'll say, why midnight? And they'll say, are you serious? No, no, bear with me, I'm serious. Well, why do you want her home at midnight? Because nothing good happens after midnight. I may have a point there, but what exactly are you worried about happening? Well, I have no idea where she is, or who she's with, or what she's up to. So your concern is knowing who she's with, what she's up to, where she is. Huh. Well, because it just strikes me that even if you could do midnight, then up until midnight, you have no idea who she's with, where she is, and what she's doing. Wouldn't it be better if we had a solution that, regardless of the time, had you knowing where she was, what she was up to, who she was with? Huh. Okay. So it's very helpful to drill down on people's concerns. This has 2 sets of solutions on the table, which is the classic power struggle. Dueling solutions, I call them. If he's stuck on, you are home at midnight regardless, I'm not budging, he can't do B. And you don't want to go forward with B because you're setting it up for disaster. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be saying, well, look, I'd love to bring her in and start to try to solve this together, but we can't do plan B yet until I have your concerns, not your solution on the table. And here's the reason he's unlikely to relinquish his solution is because he's fearful that the second he does that, his concerns are going to go out the window. So what you have to do is say, don't worry, I hear your concerns, I list them right here, they're this, this, and this. We cannot come up with any solution that doesn't address your concerns, okay? So, you know, I think the reality is we feel if we sort of let go of the solution, we're letting go of our concerns. Not the case. The analogy I'll use with a parent who might be stuck in that way is think of this like taking a plane trip together with your kid. And if you already know where we're going to land, you're doing A. But to do B does not mean that we could land anywhere and you just got to be happy with it. No, no. We don't know where it's going to land, but you have to be happy with where it lands as a parent. Otherwise, it's a bad solution and we're not going to go there. Now, of course, the kid's got to be happy with it too, and that's what makes this collaborative. Now, is the dad going to say, oh, great, okay, then I'm all on board? Of course not. To your point before, not only do people have to be reminded a lot, but it takes people a long time until they sort of warm up to the idea and the process and are ready to get going with it. I find that a funny process happens when you're trying to help people embrace the model and they're not. You have this itch, ironically, to impose Plan B upon them. And what you have to remind yourself is that you can't use A to get people to do B. And so what you have to do is slow down and say, you know what? I bet you have some really important reasons for not wanting to budge on midnight. And I must not be understanding them completely, because I'm sure you got them and I'd love to hear them. Can you fill me in? And what am I going to do then? Express my concerns about why holding tight to midnight is going to limit the process. And then what am I going to do? Invite him in to think about how we reconcile this. So what I'm really getting at here is that sometimes the most important parts of Plan B that happen, it's not Plan B between adult and kid, but it's Plan B between adult and adult. But let's say a kid won't budge and is stuck on no curfew for me ever. Well, there are times when Plan B grinds to a halt and you don't get anywhere. And this is where I'm just very practical with folks. Sounds like we've been stuck. We're stuck. So where do we go from here? And they'll all look at me and I'll say, we only got two choices, which is not for me to decide. It's A or C. So where do you guys want to go since it's ground to a halt? And most people with curfew will opt for A rather than C, to the extent that they are capable of imposing it, right? And all I'll be pointing out is whether you choose A or C, at the first available opportunity, we've got to get back to B. And it's a good example, though, especially with a very perseverative, obsessive kid. People get so frustrated because they're not getting anywhere. We haven't solved the problem. Much easier for me outside of the system to feel this way, but I don't feel so distressed about the fact that we haven't reached a solution, because I know that every iteration of this is making that kid's brain hurt, or conversely, the adult's brain hurt, trying to think of how can we come to a more flexible, mutually satisfactory solution. That's where the therapy is. That's where the doses of work are, and not magical. It takes time.